Yeah, that looks good. Time to head over to the next field now. Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about every Los Santos criminal's biggest dream ever. Retirement. Long gone are the days of doing hard repo work for Simeon and the long nights of street racing and living on gas station food. Nowadays, I'm living a nice leisurely life picking grapes and oranges and grapeseed. Even as a new blood back then, there wasn't too many options to get to this retirement lifestyle that I have today, while nowadays it feels like there are way too many options to get me to this point. And today we're going to be talking about 5 of my favorite things that helped me achieve this retirement lifestyle that I'm living today. So for number 5, we're going to be talking about something I've already talked about before, and that's going to be the nightclub, which I still think is really good even to this day. You're able to make a $250,000 from passive income at your wall safe, and then you're able to make $1.9 million from your warehouse sales, which is also obviously really awesome. Although, there is only one downside. This is a hefty investment to make if you want to make that 1.9 mil from your sales. With at least the cheapest prices alone for each building, you're going to end up having to invest around $9.675 million for this, because not only do you need the nightclub, but having all your other businesses like a CEO and a motorcycle club, as well as the other motorcycle clubs that you get from that club as well, are needed in order to get supplies from the warehouse. And then not only that, you're not going to be making 1.9 instantly. You need to also invest in extra warehouse storage, which will be part of that 9.6 mil you're going to need to invest in if you want to get a nightclub. But it's very much brick by brick, takes a lot of time, very worth it though. That's all I can say about the nightclub. So then the next entry is one of the newer businesses that I've slowly fallen in love with super fast overnight, and that's the bail office. To me, this seems like it's supposed to be a mixture between the bounty hunter role on Red Dead Redemption Online and the canceled Crops and Crooks DLC that was going to happen in 2020, 2021-ish or whatever. But with this, just like Red Dead, if you played it before, you have 3 normal bounty targets, but then you get 1 prestige bounty target. But unlike Red Dead, where you have multiple, you only get 1 daily on GTA. And they're really, really easy. They're like 10 to 15 minutes to complete. And then, unlike some of the other businesses that have a cooldown timer when you complete a mission, you're able to get all 3 normal bounties with the prestige bounty done all at once, back to back. But it will take time to get your money from them as they're processed in your jail cell, as well as a passive income safe in your office that builds up $100,000 maximum. And you can also purchase these agents that help process your criminals faster that you can also send on their own agency ops that also give you money in your safe. And one of my favorite things is that both of these agents only cost 1.5 mil total. So if you combine that with the bail office itself, which again, the cheapest location all the way in Paleto Bay, which is 1.65 mil, will only set you back 2.7 mil, which is a way better investment than the nightclub. But the only reason why it's at number 4 is because the bounties don't make as much money. So if you already like the concept of doing federal work on GTA, but you just feel like the state level jurisdiction is just not enough for you, then I would recommend going as a covert op with the garment factory. Its price is very much not friendly to the newer players, but it will be a one-time investment of 2.35 mil, which, if you know what you're doing, isn't too bad. And it's also the only purchase you make, no extra stuff. They give you everything right away. And Within the garment factory, you get 4 operation files that you can do. You get 4 missions total, with each week having one of the targets being a priority target at $300,000, while the other ones are $100,000, which will, when you complete all 4 of them, will total to like $600,000, which almost kind of replaces doing Cayo Perico by yourself in a way. You also get a passive income save from the garment factory front that your guy runs, and it's also $100,000, just like the bail office, and it's probably one of the faster ones. It probably takes about the same time as the nightclub versus like the other businesses, which I personally think are all slower than molasses. But then the only other last thing I really have to say, which is my favorite part, is that you don't need to go to the main computer to start up any of the setups or missions. You could just start it right from your phone, which is awesome. I don't know why you couldn't do that with any of the other ones before, but thank God Rockstar decided to do that for their final update. Am I right?
Wrong.
Also, final message, the plane level can kiss my ass. So, returning to the criminal underground of Los Santos, we'll now be talking about the Salvage Yard. Each week you get 3 micro heist styled levels where when you complete them, you're able to sell or salvage vehicles stolen between 4 mission types. If you're able to complete all 3 of them in a week, you'll make about 900,000 grand, although they do kind of trick you by having, one week they'll have the cars be like 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, and then the next week they'll all be 300,000. But do not get fooled, you'll be making 900,000 no matter what, which I do think is a little bit kind of scummy, but yeah. Although it definitely helps me overlook that factor when the side investments are actually purely optional compared to, say, the nightclub, which almost all of them are mandatory. And with these investments, you could get a tow truck that's either brand new or an older one for the tow truck side missions, which I really only recommend doing if you're bored as hell and got nothing better to do. Then you also have the $250,000 wall safe upgrade, which I personally don't think you need, because again, this is one of those businesses that are slow as molasses, and even then you're going to be making more of your money from the cars. But then this one I do recommend, but you get a new trade rate upgrade, which means better auto mechanic shops and also better Moore's Mutual insurance pricing. So that one is definitely worth it, but at the same time it's still optional. But then my favorite thing about the Salvage Yard, which I skipped over this with the Garment Factory 2 on accident, but each mission is only $20,000 to start, which is awesome. And these 2 businesses were some of the ones that have a cooldown timer when you complete a mission, but they're so short that I don't even notice them half the time. So it doesn't even really bother me too much. However, what does bother me is when I'm driving to Polito Bay for the 3rd time in a row while doing the setups. But normally they're not always going to be the same exact mission, so your locations are going to be based on luck. And now, it's time for the last entry of the video. And one of my favorite things to do in GTA is turning it off and going out. I'm just kidding, I'm not doing that. It's the Cayo Perico heist. Rockstar really cooked with the Cayo Perico heist when they first dropped it in December 2020. In fact, it was so good they had to immediately nerf it within the next minor updates. While the Salvage Yard and the Garment Factory files have a super small cooldown timer that's barely noticeable, the Cayo Perico heist, however, has a 2 in-game day cooldown, which is 40 minutes in real life or something like that. But basically you'll get a text from Pavel whenever the next one's ready, because back then you could immediately do them back to back, but now you can't. And my favorite part about the Cayo Perico heist is one of its main advertisements of how you're able to complete this with a crew or do it entirely by yourself. Now normally I like to do it with at least 1 extra person, because I always try to go for the secondary stuff if I have like 3 to 4 gold. But then another thing I like about having 2 people is every time I do it by myself, there's this group of guards that spawn when you're in phase 2 after stealing the main objective, and I always screw up and get caught by them. But when you have a secondary person, they don't spawn right away if they're in that area. And I think it's a really nice spawn exploit, or whatever you want to call it. Now, this isn't just my opinion, this seems to be the main general opinion, but truly the greatest thing about the Cayo Perico heist is how it does not financially set you back at all compared to the last major heist, the Diamond Casino heist. In order to access the Cayo Perico, all you need is the Kasatka submarine, which is $2.2 million. And then another thing I like to have with it is the Sparrow, which is 1.8 mil, which will only set you back 4 mil. And finally, the best part about the Cayo Perico, overall, hands down, has got to be the host, Pavel. Now, this guy knows how to host a heist. He doesn't take a gigantic tax out of the main cut like Lester does, but then Pavel also understands if you need to hire extra crew like a hacker and whatnot, to pay it out of pocket, not with the same cut that you're about to take. Not only that, but he's ex-Russian military, so he's probably one of the few people that could put up a fight against Nico Bellic, even, for all we know. Anyway, Pavel the GOAT. And just like that, those were my 5 favorite things that helped me reach retirement from Los Santos. Thanks for watching, and to anyone that has watched any of my other videos before wondering where I've been, 1, I appreciate it, and 2, I've been taking a nap.